ask a welder to help you out there. All right, so here we go. I need the key. I was thinking, how can I help you with these types? Maybe it would be an idea to just consider the block and then imagine you drilling a hole through it later, afterwards. You know what I mean? Like, okay, like I have that block right from the beginning. I'm going to focus on that for surface area. So thank you for smiling, because that told me something was off here. There we go. There we go. I thought my analogy was funny, but it's just that you can't see it. Anyway, so surface area. Let's figure that one out first. TSA. So I'm just gonna go surface area of the box, right? And then something is happening here. So it's kind of like counterintuitive sometimes, because volume you definitely take away. Volume is for sure just subtract. But when it comes to surface area, you're doing a mix. So I'm gonna go minus these two circles, right? There's one back here, right? You can imagine that, right? One back there. I'm gonna take away both of those circles, and then I'm gonna add the lateral surface area of that cylinder. Lateral surface area of cylinder. That is basically what you should be doing. And I strongly encourage you to think this through before you start formulas, okay? You're good? So, total surface area of the box, I'm just gonna go ahead and plug it in right away. So this is it doesn't really matter. If you wanna make this the length, this is the width, and this is the height, it doesn't matter. You'll get the same answer, so don't panic. So length times width would be 12 times 20 plus 2 times length times height, so that would be 20 times 37.5 plus 2 times 12 times 37.5. And this is going to be rather crowded here, but minus 2 pi radius squared. So two circles, of course. So the radius, right? The radius is 7.5. Okay, so I'm going to make sure I account for that. So that is 7.5 squared plus the lateral surface area of this thing. So that is 2 pi r. What's the height of this cylinder? It gets sideways, right? So it's actually the width of the box, which is 12. So you should have 12 here at the end. So this is what it should look like when you plug everything in. And I'm gonna tell you that the box here is 2880 minus the two circles ends up being 353.429, and that keeps going, plus the lateral surface area is 565.486. Right, so I'd like you to break it down a little bit. Don't just go and type everything in just in case, right? And then if you do all of that, you get 3092.06, and that is squared inches, because everything is in inches. So how are we going to give you marks here? I would say in this case you would get 1 mark for having the box part, 1 mark for subtracting the two circles, 1 mark for having the lateral surface area, and then 1 mark for correct calculation and getting the final answer. So if you missed any of those 1 markers, take away that mark, but you still get your final answer mark, provided you're doing everything else correctly. So that's when I have to do a lot of typing, making sure that even though you missed something, that whatever you do afterwards actually amounts to what you got, right? So I do some detective, and I can sometimes tell right away without typing it in that you made another mistake. When I look at your final answer based on these numbers, I'm like, wait a minute, you got 10,000? No way you can get 10, right? So not always do I have to type everything in. So there's your 4 marks. Next, volume. Total volume. It's just volume of the box subtract, right? You drill a hole, we take that out, volume of the cylinder. And so that'll be length, doesn't really matter, length times width times height minus the volume of that cylinder is pi r squared times the height of that cylinder, which is the width of the box. Okay, so that's what you get there. And that is 9,000 for the box minus this part here is 2120.57, and that keeps 57, and that keeps going. And then your final answer is 6879.42 cubic inches. 2 marks. I would say you basically get 1 mark for setting it up and substituting, and 1 mark for the correct final answer there. I should have probably given this one to you before I gave you the one that you did yesterday, I'm guessing, but it's okay. Because here you have all the formulas, right? You're not, the triangular prism throws students off, but just remember, area of base times the height. That's how you get the volume of a prism that is regular. If it's slanted, then there's no go, right? Like, you can't do that. You mind me going off on a tangent here? This one, technically, if you found this face right here, like let's say we lay this down on its like this so that the circle's at the bottom. If you found the area, like take this away and just found this area and you multiplied it by the height, like as it comes up, you actually could find the volume that way. You get the same answer here. So let's say you find the area, right? This times this, subtract the circle, that's the area of this base, and then we multiply it by the height, you get the same answer. So that's pretty cool if you ask me. You might be like, no, I like this. I'm just going to stick with that. But keep that in mind. It would work. See, the shape needs to be painted. Painted that surface area. I don't know if you caught that, but we're talking surface area. And we need 3 coats for proper coverage. I don't know if you remember that from grade 11. We did some of these questions where you had to coat it. 1 can of latex paint can cover 5 square feet and cost this much plus tax. Calculate the cost of paint. I don't know what that is, but the cost of paint, we can figure that out, right? After tax. So what you do is you got to go 3 times, 3 coats of 3092.06. Whatever you got in I guess A, whatever you have, if you go 3 times that, you get the mark, right? So what is that? That is 927618 squared inches. And there's also a problem with that, because now that we know how much we need to cover in total, it's almost like painting 3 rooms. You need to convert this to what? Squared inches, square feet. You got to match that. So we're going to go 1 foot, square foot has how many squared inches? 12 squared. Did you catch that? Because 1 foot has 12 inches, so a square foot has 144 square inches. So we divide that answer by 144 effectively, and we get 64.4179 and something square feet. Okay. Let's see how the mark allocation is going to be. You're going to get half a mark for performing this step right here. Then you're going to get, I should be more, but for today we're just going to go half a mark for converting properly. So meaning you have to have the 144 there. And now you need to figure out the number of cans. Okay, so cans required to be 64.4179 ... divided by 5 square feet, right? You're going square feet divided by square feet. and you get 12.88 something cans, but we cannot buy partial, so it has to be 13 cans that we purchase. You get a half mark for that. And obviously your number of cans will be different if your surface area was different. That's okay. That's okay. We're not going to take off your cost. It will be 13 cans times 41.99. And what you can do here is, because you're adding taxes, you can do that immediately like this. You can just do everything in one shot. It's the same as doing this step and then adding taxes. It's the same thing. That gives you 611 and 37 cents. You would get another half mark for that today. To be honest, most of these steps are worth a full mark, but today we're just gonna say we're just learning here, making sure we understand the steps that had to happen. Please do not. I see a lot of, and this is common, I don't blame you, but it would be conceptually wrong to figure out how many cans you need for one coat and then multiplying your number of cans that you get by 3. That's conceptually wrong, because when you start painting and you open cans one after the other, if you open a can and you just have like a third of the way to go, you're going to continue with your second coat, right? With that open can. So that's why we first figure out the total surface area. So the number of cans has to happen here. Coats. And then you go about finding your number of cans. Okay, so that's an important concept here. Backside. Yeah.
So everything else is good except for the final answer, because I had the wrong answer at the start.
You still get 2 marks here. Yeah. If you did these steps in some fashion, you'd get 2 marks here for sure, even if you got it wrong in A. Yeah. And that's how the province would mark. They would train us to mark that way. Okay. Question 2. You might think, who would want to do a spherical fire pit? But you can go to Canadian Tire or places. They have like fancy ones like this, right? They're like literally above ground. And there are spherical ones. I've seen them. Okay. So I'm telling you, it's a fire pit that kind of has legs. Should have maybe given you a bit of a diagram, but it's a spherical one. What you need to remember is that volume of a sphere is 4 pi r cubed over 3. That is the important part. Spherical, right? It's not a hemisphere, it's a spherical. We know that the volume is 12.5. It's 4 pi r cubed over 3. And now let the games begin, right? We multiply both sides by 3. Cancels that. That gives us 3 times 12.5 is 37.5 is equal to 4 pi r cubed. And so now we want to divide both sides by 4 pi. Cancel, cancel. So here's what I want to warn you though. And if you got this wrong, just learn from today, okay? Entering this is going to be tricky. If you don't do this correctly, you're not going to get the right answer because of bed mass, right? So you got to go 37.5 divided by, when things are multiplying in the denominator, you got to use brackets or else it will not work, okay? If you miss the bracket, it's going to divide by 4, then multiply your answer by pi, right? So you want to have that in brackets. So that's 2 point. So now we're going to take the cube root of 2.98 something. So do you remember how to do cube root? I didn't remind you, but I think I might have done that on the video. I'm pretty sure math, I find it odd that a calculator with this caliber doesn't have a cube root right on the one of the buttons, but it is what it is. So it's 1.44 when you round it. Okay, and you could plug that back into the original and check if you get 12.5 cubic feet, right? So how would I do the marks here? I think I would say that if you get it to here, that would be 1 mark. If you get it to look like this, and then another mark for actually cube rooting to get the final answer. Oh, and units, that's feet. So 2 marks there. Um, for the walls here, I'm gonna say this is because I will make sure you get this back. Review for test. Okay. I'm gonna say watch video. I will not have enough time today to do a bedroom scenario, but I have done this in grade 11 applied. Remember when we did the walls and there were windows and doors that we not painting? Those you need to. So I will make a either find an old video or I'll just go right in your booklets. I have some of these in there, and I'll just tell you what the answer is. Well, can you write this down? Your final cost here is 235.13. Okay, so that should tell you whether or not you're. And this one is very like has a lot of things happening here. I know it. There's feet, there's inches, there's all this busyness happening there, but it's to prepare you for that. And sometimes we just do the walls. Sometimes we do walls and ceiling. We don't do the floor unless you really want to paint your floors. That's up to you, but we usually don't do that. So I'll stop here and then